Okay, good morning everyone, and today we're gonna be discussing about areas under the normal curve. Before that, let me share my screen and kindly tell me if you can see it. Nakita akong screen, class?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That the topic that we will be discussing today is all about the areas under the normal curve. Let me adjust it first. Okay. And before that, as I mentioned a while ago, you should have your table, normal distribution table, standard normal distribution table, and your uh, your calculator. Okay? Let me zoom it out a little bit. Okay, there. Okay. So as you can see, before we go with the topic, uh, as you can see, the normal distribution table consists of two. Doon na sila ka normal distribution table, standard normal distribution table. For the negative and for the positive. This one for the positive. So, depending on what value of z that you have. So as of now, let us start from the very first case. Because I mentioned there are three cases. The first case is, let me graph it first. Oops. Case number one. Case one. And it is the most easy way. The most easy case among the three given. So if this is your z-score, say z sub o. And if you're gonna be looking for the probability that z is less than your z sub o, before, if you don't, if katong wala pa ni nga table, they are using calculus to find that area under this normal curve. As of now, since we already have the table, we are provided with the values, tanaw lang diretso sa table. Always bear in mind that the table that we have, this normal, the standard normal distribution table, is intended for less than. I will repeat, this is intended for less than. So here, if we are asked what is the probability of z less than z sub o, so what you're gonna be looking is you just look for the value of z sub o under the table. And you just use directly the table. I'll give you an example. What is the probability of z less than 2.31, negative 2.31? If you're gonna be looking for this, first thing that you will have, as you can see, the ones, tens, hundreds, right? And if you consider the table, you have here ones, tens, and here is 100 until hundreds, right? So ang inyong i-consider diya class, kani tanaw sa ninyo ng negative 2.3. Kay negative, you use this table. Kung positive katong isa kaganiha. Kay negative man, tanaw sa ninyo ng 2.3. Aha, malalapitan si negative 2.3. Negative 2.3 is here. Nakita ninyo? It is negative 2.3. So, i-red view para makita. The negative 2.3 is somewhere here. And next is, ang kulang na lang niya is ang 0.01. Right? Anong 0.01 man, sir? 0.01 because you already have your negative 2.3. Ang kulang niya para man-negative 2.31 is the 0.01. Right? So, pangitaon ninyo si negative 2.3 na adira o si negative 0.01 na dito. Sabtan? Sabtan class?
Yes, sir.
Then, by the way, did I record it already?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Okay, good. Okay. Then after that, after you locate that one, you are going to look for this value. Imong i-cross. And it will be now the value. So the answer will be 0.0104. Or in percent, you just move two places going to the right, 1.04%. Clear? Anak ka sayon kung less than. Any question for the first example?
None, sir.
None. Good. Let us proceed to the next. How about I ask, what is the probability of z less than 1.98? As you can see, this is positive. Since that is positive, you will not be using this table. You will use the other table, which is the positive nga table kani. So what you're gonna be looking is, you have to look for 1.9 first. Hawa ng 1.9. 1.9 is somewhere here. Can you know? 1.9 is here. And you will look for 1. 1.9. Good. Oops. Okay, here. The 1.9 is somewhere here. And you look for the 0.08. Hawa ng 0.08. Can you know? And you cross them. As you can see, the value will be equal to 0.9761. Or in percent, that is 97.61%. Clear? That is for less than. I will repeat. You will use the less than if you are using the table, or that if you the table is only intended for less than rather. Okay? Naklaro, class?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let me stop sharing first. Okay. How about if we are given with greater than? Okay. Kasi may tabo daw kung greater than. If we are looking for greater than class, this is the case. The case 1 is for the less than, probability of z less than z sub o. Then you use here the table directly. How about if we have probability of z greater than your z sub o? The problem here, class, is sa una na table nga gagamit o greater than, but most of the time now we are using less than. So atong himuon karon is we need to use the idea of less than to get the greater than. Again, we need to use the idea of less than to get the greater than. And I want you to look at this one. By the way, one more thing nga, wala na ko na-emphasize ganina. Kung i-shade ni tanan, class, that is 100% or equivalent to 1. Okay? Kung i-shade tanan, 100% or 1. Kung walay gi-shade, that is 0. Okay? Always bear in mind. How about if you are if this is your z sub o and you are looking for greater than, so greater than z sub o, so it must be somewhere here. It means after the z sub o. So if you look at this one, you cannot solve directly using the table. Dili nyo makuha dito sa table, kay table less than man. But if you look, if we will draw the same with that, if we will have the same figure with that, and we will shade everything. So it is 100%, right? No? So unsay himuon nato kang greater than o kang 100% para makuha si less than? Sa kahimuon. Any suggestion? Can you look at here?
Minus, sir?
Yes, very good. This is 1 no or 100%. If you subtract this probability of z, kini man natong gusto, no? Ang gamiton man nato sa less than. Si less than is kini. Si less than, oops, taro na itong drawing. Si less than is this. This is probability of z less than the z sub o. And we want to get the probability of z greater than z sub o. We want this having this and this one only. This is known already. This is known already using the table how to get this one. So sakto tong giingon ka ganina, kasi yun atong minus ganina na gani.
Ako, sir.
See?
Christy.
Yes.
Christy.
Very good, Chris. That is correct. Unsay i-minus? Unsay i-minus nato para makuha ang greater than?
Ang less than og ang 100%.
Very good. The 100%, can you look at this one? Kung imo nang ibutang diri, mao man ni ang less than no kani nga portion na i-read. Kani man ni ang less than no. Kung tangtangon nimo ang less
Yes,
than
sir.
kang 1, mahibilin ang greater than, di ba? Kita ninyo?
Yes, sir.
Sa ato pa di ay, if you want to get the greater than, you just have to follow the formula 1 minus the probability of z less than the z sub o. And if you will use this formula, magamit na ang table ani. Right? Whatever is the answer that you get here, you just subtract from 1, and that will be the answer for the greater than. Clear? Is it clear? Okay, let us
Yes,
have
sir.
an example.
Yes, sir.
Let us have an example. Example, balik ta sa dito sa kuan. Dito ta sa itong na-table. Madali ra na to makita ang table. Okay, here. Say for example, I asked you to find class what is the Apit ako niya, ma'am, ha? What is the probability of z greater than 1.23? So in this case, we cannot use directly the table. Why? Because this is greater than, right? So what we will do, we need to convert this into something less than. And we know that the formula says that this is just 1 minus the probability of z less than 1.23, right? If that is greater than. You can convert it to less than, but you need to have this formula. Now, can we use now the table here? Magamit na ang table diri, Jasen?
Yes, sir.
Magamit na no, kay less than man siya. Sige daw. Asa si 1.23? If we consider 1.23, this is positive. Kani positive ba nino? So you should look for 1.2 and you should look for 0.03. Right? And if you are going to cross them, it will give you the answer of 0.8907. So it will be now 1 minus 0.8907. Right? Is it clear, class? Then after that,
Yes,
you
sir.
get
Sir.
your calculator. Can you get your calculator? 1 minus 0.8907. And that will give you 0.1093. Right? Sakto ba ko?
Hmm.
Did you get the same answer?
Yes, sir.
Good. So
Yes,
the
sir.
answer is somehow like 10.93%. Clear? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Any questions for the
Yes,
greater
sir.
than?
Yes, sir.
Okay, no questions. So let us have now, I'll give you one more problem. How about I will ask you, what is the probability of z greater than negative 1.78? Okay daw. Can you help me now? Isa himuon ani. Isa himuon ani. Any suggestion from you?
I-minus og katong greater than, sir.
Okay, can you dictate?
Ay,
Into less
Convert,
than.
sir.
Okay,
Convert
sige
sa
daw. Istorya, unsa ibutang? Okay, go.
1 minus probability of z less than negative 1.78.
Very good. And that is correct. So from greater than, we converted it to less than, but with 1 minus the less than. Okay, can we use now the table?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, tanaw daw sa table. Aha mana dapita. O, makadraw man mo, no? Makadraw man, no? Anyone who can encircle the answer. I-encircle ang answer. I think you can.
0.0.
Okay, can you encircle in the screen because you can annotate, right? I allow you to annotate, so you can annotate. I-circle ninyo, dapita. Kisa nang yellow, si Vin.
0.
Gi-
Plus 0.
Okay, sakto ng red, tama? Okay, very good. Yes. Kindly utter the answer. Istorya daw sa inyong answer.
Point zero three
0.0375.
seven five.
Very good.
0.307.
Very good. Because you need to look for negative 1.7 and 0.08. And that will be this
Nga
one,
nasa. Oh,
right?
putol na dyan
This
ka.
one and this. You just cross it and this will be the answer. Very good. It will be 0.0375, right?
375.
Okay. But you need to subtract it from 1, right? So 1 minus 0.0375. Bilang answer, class?
0.9625.
96.25. For in percent, that is just 96.25%.
0.25%.
Clear? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Question for the case number 2.
Yes, sir.
Question for the case number 2. Do you have any question?
None,
No
sir.
more.
I think it's clear, right? So let's have the last case, the case number 3. Again, I will repeat that case number 1. Oops, the case 1. The case number 1 is for the z less than the z sub o. Then we use directly the table for this. For the case number 2, the probability of z greater than the z sub o. And we use the formula 1 minus the probability of z less than the z sub o, right? Now, we will now discuss the case number 3. The case number 3, class, is you have now 2 z-scores. The probability of z sub 1 less than the z less than the z sub 2. Something like your z value is in between the 2 z-scores. The z values that you will be looking for are in between the 2 z-scores. It will look like this. If this is your z sub 1 and this is your z sub 2, and this is your normal distribution, this is your curve, rather, and you are looking for the z is in between the 2 of them. So it must be here. Okay? Now, ang pangutana karon unsaon na pagpangita using only the less than formula. Can you look at this, class, ha? I want you to analyze it. This is your z sub 1, this is your z sub 2. Okay? This is, unsan ni siya, class? Can you tell me, unsan ni siya? Can you akong shade karon?
Yes.
Probability of z
Negative. Z.
Dan.
less than,
Less than.
okay? Less than
Z sub 1.
z sub 1. Very good.
Z sub 1.
Very good. How about this one? This is your z sub 1, this is your z sub 2. I will shade the here. Kindly tell me, saan ang shaded region? Probability of z
Z is less than Z sub 1 greater
na naman ang z sub
than
1.
Z sub 2.
Tanawa, oh. Asa siya? This value, paubos niya.
Ay, tama din.
Saan eh? Probability of z less than
Z sub 2.
z sub 2. Agreed, Anan? I will repeat. This portion
sir.
here is probability of z less than z sub 1. And this portion here is the probability that z is less than z sub 2. Anong kana akong gipili? Anong dili ang greater than? Kana akong gipili, class, because I know that I can use this 2 in getting this portion. Kita ninyo? Unsay himuon aning duha para makuha ni? Sige daw. Sinyong nakita. Unsa atong himuon aning duha nga area to get this area?
Minus.
Minus. Very good. Unsa ang i-minus? That's correct. I-minus.
Z sub
Ang
1 sa Z sub
Minus the probability of Z less than Z sub 1.
Yes, sige. Ay, mas dako. Ang probability of Z less than Z sub 2 or the probability of Z less than Z sub 1?
Probability ni C sub 2, sir.
Very good. This is larger area, right? Compared than this. Pero kung kani nga area, no? Kani ato i-read ha. Kani mo nga area no? Kani probability of Z less than Z sub 1, kani this is the area, right?
Yes, sir.
If you remove that from the probability of Z less than Z sub 2, and what is left now is only this. Nabili no? Kita ninyo?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
That will only be the remaining area if you remove this less than this portion from the bigger area. Right? So it means out of this minus this, you will just get this one. Sabta ninyo? Therefore, the formula is just the probability of Z less than your Z sub 2 minus the probability of Z less than your Z sub 1. Right? Sabtan?
Yes, sir.
Tato pa.
Yes, sir.
Kung in between ang kwaon ang probability Z less than Z sub 2, gamagamit man ang table ani, as well as minus the probability of Z less than the Z sub 1. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Very
Clear,
good.
sir.
Okay. I want you to understand that thoroughly before we'll have an example. No question? Wala yung question?
None, sir.
Very good. For a while.
No, sir.
Okay. Let us have an example. What is the probability of, say for example, by the way, Z sub 1 should always be less than the Z sub 2. Okay? It will not happen that Z sub 2 is greater than, Z sub 1 is greater than the Z sub 2. Okay. So for example, you have the Z sub 1 of negative 1.21, Z and less than 2.01. Okay. How to do it? First, let us graph it to make it clear. If this is 0, obviously, negative 1.21 is left to 0. It will be negative 1.21. Since this is positive, it should be to the right side of 0, 2.01. And if we draw the curve, it must look like this. Okay, now, asa man ayang giingon? Z daw is in between the two, so it's Z must be somewhere here. Right? Okay. Usay giingon sa formula, class? Usay giingon sa formula? This is your Z sub 1,
Minus.
this is your Z sub 2. Formula states that it is just equal to the probability of Z less than your Z sub 2. Usay yung Z sub 2?
2.01.
2.01 minus the probability of Z less than your Z sub 1. Kung sa inyong Z sub 1?
Negative 1.
Negative
Negative
1.
Negative 1.21.
1.21. Now, I want you to look for the answer in each of this. As kung say answer ni probability of Z less than negative 1.21. 1.21. This is 1.2 negative. 0.01 is here. This one.
0.1131.
Yes. So it must be here 0.1131. Right? But we don't have the value of the first part. We need to look for that value in the other table. Since positive na, kini nga table atong gamiton. Aha na to tanawon. Tanawon na to si 2.0. Aman si 2.0 lapita. Dara. 2.0 is somewhere here, no? Kita ninyo? And the
Yes, sir.
0.01,
Yes, sir.
so it must be this one.
0.9778.
So 0.9778.
7, 8.
Clear? Kita sa tanan? Then you
Yes,
sir.
use your calculator. Okay, can you get your calculator? Can you press 0.9778 minus 0.1131? And what will be the answer?
0.8647.
0.8647.
7.
Right? Or somehow 86.47%. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any questions for this? Case number 3.
None, sir.
Okay. That is
None,
good
sir.
for that. Let us have one more problem and I want you to answer it. Okay, one more problem. Oh, sobraan. One more problem for a while. Oops. Saan man to? Okay, here. Oops. Okay, here. Say, for example, I want you to do it together. What is the probability of negative 1.85 less than z less than negative 0.56? Okay? Can you try? I want you to get the answer correctly. Okay? And the table, kanina nga table nga negative inyong gamiton tanan kay these are both negative. And if you have the answer, kindly you may write here or you may dictate it to me so that I can write it here. What will be the formula? Are you able to determine the formula?
Try it out, sir.
Sige, go. Can you dictate the formula?
Probability of z less than negative 0.56 minus probability of z less than negative 1.85.
Okay. I would like to ask your classmates, do you agree with the answer of Justin? Do you agree with the answer of Justin? Do you have the same answer?
Sir.
Okay. You may disagree if you have answer different from her answer. Okay? Before we proceed, do you agree with the answer of Justin? Now, can you
Yes, sir.
agree? Okay, sige pa dayon ta. Okay, I want another student to give the answer for this part.
0.0.
Okay, male student to give the answer of the first part. Kini. Probability of z less than
Sir,
0.56. Yes.
Sir, probability less than C 0.2877.
Wala na yung probability dyan, no? Diretso na answer. 0.
Ay, 0.2877.
Can you explain dyan nganong kana imong gikuha? So,
Kaya ang
kinino?
sa form, wait na negative.
Kanino? Kana?
Yes, sir. Negative 0.5.
So, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Kanino?
5, 6.
Kaninga,
Yes, sir.
kaninga portion of kana. Si answer nimo dyan?
0.2877.
Do you agree with the answer of
0.2877.
John? Yes. Do you agree with the answer of John?
Yes, sir.
So it
Yes,
must
sir.
be 0.2877. Very good.
77.
Very good. This time, female student to provide the next part. Okay, female student from section Mount Kitanglad. Female student from Kitanglad, aside from Jacent. Jacent is exempted. Next,
Minus 0.0322, sir.
again, kinsa kay istorya si Nesrin.
Sir,
Yun, unsay answer Nesrin?
0.0322.
Yun sa pagkuha nimo Nesrin. Kanina Nesrin, no?
Sa negative 1.8, sir.
O,
Then, giconnect na ko
0.5.
sa
0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Kanino? Unsay answer
Yes,
nimo
sir.
Nesrin? Unsay answer nimo Nesrin? 0.
0.0322.
Tutu.
Very good. And this is correct. So it will be 0.0322. Right? And this time, since you are done finding the values of this, you are going to subtract them. So what will be the answer if you subtract 0.2877 by 0.322?
0.2555.
Very good. Or in percent, it will be just
Or
25.55%.
55%.
Okay? Is it clear now, class?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I will repeat. The case 1, you use directly the table for less than. Case number 2, if greater than, you convert it to 1 minus the less than. If in between, you use the probability of z less than the z sub 2 minus the probability of z less than z sub 1. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Any questions for this topic? Any
None, sir.
questions?
None.
None. I think everything is very clear, and I think after we discuss this one, we will proceed to a topic wherein we will have X score, and we need to convert it to Z score, and we will solve for the probability. Or we will also have one discussion wherein gihatag na daan ang probability, you are looking for the Z score and the X score. Or one more meeting wherein we are going to discuss on how to apply this in real life scenario. Okay? I think that would be good for the
Yes.
day. Let me stop